platform. This is To The Bar. Strength in every story. And now for today's show.
Welcome to The Bar, where we believe there's strength in every story. So this is your podcast for all things weightlifting. I'm your host, Jess Roebuck-Slaney.
And I'm Aaron Holt.
And we have, I'd say but it's taken us about 2 weeks to recover.
Yeah.
Just come back from the Rogue Invitationals.
Yep, up in Aberdeen.
Aberdeen, you got it right for the first time. We keep saying Edinburgh. It was in Aberdeen, yeah.
It was in Aberdeen. Bloody long way.
Yeah, all the way in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
And so we were there for media. So we went with LuxiaoJun UK and LuxiaoJun Europe as their media reps. Yeah, so I thought we'd jump on and give you a little bit of a behind the scenes in terms of media and what that actually looks like to go to an event like that as media or as a brand, so to speak.
Yeah, because it was, obviously, we come from a weightlifting background, and everything we normally do and post has been weightlifting orientated, and we got the English coming up in a month's time.
A month, yeah.
So this was a bit of a big shift really for us, because it was predominantly we were there for the CrossFit, so we were following one of the brand ambassadors, or Colten Mertens, who we'll talk about later on. So yeah, it was interesting. So we had to a quick learn into, or sort of deep dive into CrossFit or reminisce for me.
Yeah, and it was, a steep learning curve for me, really. It's interesting because we've talked quite a lot on this podcast about the crossover between CrossFit and weightlifting, and actually how they are sister sports. And a lot of our training has been in CrossFit boxes, and we do drop-ins in CrossFit boxes, and I am not a CrossFitter. And I can genuinely really appreciate CrossFitters and the things that they can achieve, but I am a weightlifter. So this was out of my comfort zone for the CrossFit. We also saw the strongmen and the strongwomen. Now that's much more up my alley. Because I started in strength and conditioning and that sort of bodybuilding strength area, but also because I love watching the strongmen and the strongwomen. And so that was, I think, more comfortable for us. We knew the movements, we knew some of the people that were there, but the CrossFit certainly was new and is very different to what we would normally be putting out. So if you've seen a bit of a diversification of the social media accounts, that's why. Again, I think probably a nod and a thank you to everyone at New Wave, because we did a bit of research. We had to learn how to photograph things that moved, people that moved rapidly, instead of it being platform or someone's in the back room of a weightlifting competition. Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because the weightlifters move rapidly. I mean, that is weightlifting. It's a rapid movement, but our kind of media is very different in the sense of what we focus on.
Yeah.
And even if you think about platform photography, it's, set up, full extension, finish position, and celebration. And you learn very quickly when to take those shots. With CrossFit, how many pictures of a skier can you take that's interesting? But New Wave, CrossFit New Wave, I can't thank them enough for just letting us come and photograph all their members and let us pretty much have free reign. I've actually got something for them, which I haven't told them about yet, actually, which we're going to go and drop off at some point just to say thank you. So they made our lives a lot easier, I think, because a lot of the movements that we then got to photograph, we had an opportunity to do, albeit in a smaller region, at New Wave, CrossFit New Wave. So big shout out to them.
Yeah, indeed.
But so I don't know, maybe we should just start at the beginning.
Yep.
So as I say, we went with LuxiaoJun.
Shemek,
proud sponsors of the podcast. Thank you, Shemek. Thank you, LuxiaoJun UK.
Yeah.
To the Bar 5 for 5% off, and it's coming up to Black Friday, so keep your eye out for the Black Friday deals. But because we were going with LuxiaoJun and obviously Shemek is a friend, we didn't fly, which everybody else did.
Yeah. A stupid idea that we would drive up and take, so Shemek had a lot of gear to take, of course. You know, shoes, shirts,
XT
everything.
motions, X-loads, lifters, lifting strap, all sorts of shit.
So we went in 2 vans. We took one, and Shemek left on the Wednesday morning, and then we left Wednesday evening around about 9 p.m, 10 p.m.
10 p.m-ish,
10
I
p.m.
think. I think it was about 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And he says we left, and we did both get in a van, but he didn't drive.
I'm glad I didn't drive. I feared for my bloody life, I tell you.
I know, I'm still waiting for Shemek to give us a ring and say, why have I got 18 speeding tickets? No, I'm not that bad. It was a very long drive. I think it took about 11 and a half hours, didn't it? Rather than sit here and moan about the drive, what I will say is it might be one of the most beautiful moments for me for a very long time was the sunrise over. We literally crossed into Scotland and was sort of in the middle of the Scottish Highlands as the sun rose. And I don't know that at the moment I've fully appreciated how beautiful that was. But on reflection, when I think about that, that was a really... Yeah, it's a very beautiful country.
Yeah, without doubt.
Yeah,
somewhere I'd love to go back and see more of, rather than just the inside of a venue, which we always say when we go to places like that, tournaments and things.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the sea. I remember saying on the map, "Oh, look, the sea," and then pointing at the sea. But again, it was it would have been nicer to see more of it, but we did get to see it as the sun rose, and it was lovely. It was a very long journey. Shout out to that tiny little weird hut that we stopped at in Glasgow that just sold tunnocks and HP sauce at an extra 20 pence if you wanted the brand.
Oh dear, that's a bit weird. Yeah.
But yeah, so you get there, and as media, you're expected to be there the day before.
Yep.
Day before the competition starts.
Yeah, so we got there early, and help Shemek set up, really, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean...
Box lugging.
Yes, we very much grunt men, because Shemek is very good at vision. He can see what he wants something to look like, and I cannot. So I pretty much just moved cardboard boxes from the back of a van, dumped them in front of Shemek, and then went back off in my high vis and got another... The cat's just sloping on by. Got another cardboard box. So I'd like to say I helped Shemek set up. Really, all I did was unload a van and cover everybody else's stalls.
Yeah.
Because there were some brands there that I like personally that aren't based in the UK, and so I was itching the minute we walked through the door to get over to frog grips. I don't even do the gymnastics. Like I say, I'm not a CrossFitter, but I love frogs, and the cat's going to join.
Hello.
So being able to get a frog t-shirt and not have to ship it from Australia, and being able to get a patch, I wanted to do that as they were unpacking, which anybody who knows me will know I enjoy shopping. So yeah, we did that for a couple of hours before we had to go to orientation, media orientation, which is a really interesting process, really, when you think about it. So you sign in, you get your wristbands, and it was a 2-hour sign-in window. So we were first, weren't we? Because we'd been there already.
Yeah. We were just sort of hanging around, really. And so we went to the front desk and just made sure that's where we needed to be. And they were obviously sort of transitioning between the athlete check-in to the media check-in. And so they had these poor 2 people. I think the athlete check-in had finished about an hour before, but they were hanging around because they were waiting for one more person, which was Rich Froning. And he, eventually casually just wandered in, and these 2 people who were just rogue volunteers who were just waiting.
He wanted to make his entrance.
Throwing the lanyard around his neck and getting him upstairs to get his kilt and ski and do
All the stuff they got.
Yeah, all the gun.
I've since seen they all got personalised Yetis and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, the
it's
coolers.
really
Because
cool.
he walked out with one of those coolers, and they were like £9,000 or something.
Yeah, they were expensive.
So, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that was pretty cool too. So being there early meant that we got to see Rich sign in, and it meant we got to have a little bit of an explore, which was pretty cool. So we sort of went back a little bit, and then if we just jump ahead to what the actual media orientation is like. So every outside media company comes together, and I suppose what was new for us was how many of them obviously go to all of these events together and knew each other. So that network in there was actually really nice. And when I think about it, it's similar along the lines to us and Nick and Grip and Rip. And, you know, there was no competition amongst the media. It was everybody was like, hey, you're, you know, catching up. And so we stood with all the outside media, and that's where we first met Sarah, who is the USA LuxiaoJun media representative. So it was really nice to meet her the night before, because we did then meet her a couple of times throughout the event and sit with her and sort of swap tips and swap photos and stuff, which was really nice. But we get access. There's lots of different access that you get as media in terms of places that the public can't see. So there was a balcony that we could get to, for example, if we wanted overhead shots, and you get a little tour of the venue, and you get shown where you can do your athlete interviews and where the athletes will warm up. We got to see the setup of the actual competition arena the night before, and it wasn't quite finished yet, and it was intense, wasn't it? Like, it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, not that you don't think. I mean, you obviously think that people have to test all the equipment, because I mean, it's all new. Everything they get is coming out of the box. They put it all together and they set it all up, and then they have to test it, because it's Rogue. You know, they're not reusing old gear. They then pass it on to boxes. But yeah, it was incredible. So to watch them all going through all the different stuff that they had to. I saw one guy when we were doing all the stuff with Shemek, screwing in the boxes.
I was just about to say, I saw somebody building boxes, building the box jumps.
Yeah.
And you saw what you thought was the Atlas Stone
plinths. I thought that's what it was, but it turned out to be plinths for the sandbags in one of the CrossFit events.
Yeah.
Now, as much as I want to call it, say, CrossFit events, because the one thing I loved about Rogues was that they adapted to meet. So it was a bit more of a combination between strongman and CrossFit, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I kept saying to you, I'm actually enjoying watching this.
Yeah.
And that sounds really disrespectful to any CrossFitters, and I don't mean it that way. But I love strongman.
Yeah, me too.
And so watching the CrossFitters and do the strongman events, essentially, I mean, they did the yoke, they did, you know, they did do this. It was much more strongman inspired.
Yeah. Yeah, the steps with the
the log clean and jerk. We've got clean and jerk, clean and press. It was much more strongman inspired, and I think it made it more interesting to me to see it that way. So yeah, we say CrossFit, and actually it's almost like its own version of CrossFit.
Yeah.
It's like a spin-off of CrossFit, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think the strong men and women were glad that it didn't
go the other way.
reverse, so they didn't have to run around the arena and do the pegboard.
When we interviewed Olga, and she said, I wore the lifters, I run in them. Oh, she did 3 bloody steps. I run in them. But to a strong woman, that is running, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
they run to an Atlas Stone,
to a cannonball,
yeah.
But yeah, I can full well imagine, you know, Stoltman on a pegboard. Come on. But yeah, that was amazing being there early and seeing the Rogue people building. You know, the rig was already up, but that was pretty much it, wasn't it? The rig and the turf, that was up and out. But that was it. And we weren't allowed to take photos. We weren't allowed to do anything that day. We were told very strictly, you know, you can't share any of this yet. It was meant to be impressive. It was meant to be the doors are open, the customer sees it first. And I liked that. I liked that we got the sneak preview, but that we weren't allowed to share it. I thought that was quite cool.
Yep. Yeah, indeed.
So yeah, we were I mean, I always tick this as not for kids, so I'll say it. I was absolutely fucked by the end of that day. I mean, that was the day that we left the earliest, I think. And I was dead.
But we didn't quite leave because in between the media orientation and waiting for that, we went across to the Hilton.
Oh, God, because I was starving because I'd been up for 400 million hours.
Yeah.
And Aaron was sick of hearing me moan. And it was either go back to the accommodation and find some food or find something close by. Now, we'd not spent any time really looking at what was close by because in our minds we'd gone with food to eat, hadn't we? And we weren't really planning on eating out or doing anything like that. It was literally work. That's what we were going for. But it now makes sense why they hold Rogues in Aberdeen sometimes, because the airport is on one side of the road, the P&J Stadium is on the other side of the road, and attached to it is the Hilton. So we went in there and we had some chips and what they called a focaccia, but was actually just a piece of bread. And before Aaron gets into his rant about the focaccia, we were sitting there and I just looked around and we were just surrounded by the world's strongest and fittest people snacking.
It was quite incredible.
It was so calm. It was just like any other restaurant. You wouldn't have known that they were famous, that, Mitch Hooper was sat 2 tables down from us, eating what looked like the entire menu with Tom Stoltman and somebody else. I can't remember, another one of the blokes.
Yeah.
Lucy Underdown I saw come and join that table as well. Danielle Brandon was sat directly behind you. It was fascinating to me to see all those people because, again, it just reminds me almost like when we see Emily Campbell and she'll come and give us a hug and you have a chat and then you move on with your day. She's Emily Campbell to us, but to the rest of the world, she's
Emily Campbell.
She is still that to me. Like she's still an amazing. She's an Olympia, and she is British weightlifting to me. She is. I always call her the queen of British weightlifting on any post of hers that I share. But also, if she walked into Mems to train, I wouldn't faint. I'd just be like, "Hey, how's your day?" And I really felt that in the Hilton. It felt like everybody there was in that mode. Like they were all just people. Yeah. But also, they weren't competing against each other. They were competing against each other, but they weren't because they were all hanging out and.
Yeah, I found it just really interesting watching because it's the night before the comp. This is a massive. There's a big paycheck at the end of it. It's
all
quite
that travel.
All the travel. A really big event. And yet, the strong men, women were feasting. And the CrossFitters were, they all had their drink bottles and then they all disappeared off into their own rooms.
They were hanging out, weren't they?
Yeah, they were hanging around chatting.
They weren't
just
ordering.
Yeah.
They were chilling. They were like spending time together.
Yeah.
The strong people were devout. Like the Hilton made some dollar, but the CrossFitters weren't. Yeah. So you can only imagine they've got microwaves in their rooms and meal plans. Maybe had some broccoli. But it was. Yeah, it took me a minute, but I think because I was so hungry and tired, and I say stressed in a bad way. It wasn't stressed in a bad way. It was just stressed of like we'd had a really long journey. We'd done a lot. It was a lot of information to take in. I wanted to go home, but we had to wait 2 hours for this orientation. It was just a really surreal moment. Yeah. For me to get the food in front of me, relax, and then actually realise that I was sitting in amongst all of those people. And as somebody who doesn't follow CrossFit, knows very little about CrossFit, even I recognised the people around me. Like I recognised Daniel Brandon, I know Laura Horvath, and like even I knew who they were, and they were just hanging out. Yeah,
it was really nice to see.
Yeah,
privilege, really.
Yeah. So we finally got to leave, and as I say, I was fucked. And the day started extremely early the next morning. I think we got to the venue 7:30.
Yeah.
7:30. and I'll give I shouted out on the Instagrams, but I'll do it again. Rogue, the Jew, for how much attention they paid to Scottish heritage.
Yeah.
Because when we went in to set up where we were first going to start taking our photos, they did the US national anthem, obviously, as Rogue is a US company, but then they did the Scottish one, and they asked everybody to remain standing, and they turned I've forgotten the name of it again.
Jumbotron or something?
That's it, Jumbotron, they keep calling it. The screen, the screen that the Americans do Kiss Cam on, they had one of those, and they put the Scottish flag on that. That Scottish flag was on there even during the US anthem. It didn't change. It was always the Scottish flag. And like you say, they gave the athletes all the stuff.
Yeah, when we were queuing to get in, because of course you go through the security scanners and stuff, and we saw, was that day 1 or 2? But we saw 2 guys walking in with these huge claymores.
Oh, it was day 2. It was day 2 because the security was like, "You are gonna, they're gonna be like tied down, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, don't worry, they're gonna be tied down."
Yeah, ginormous.
Yeah, but yeah, so day 1. Really was just getting the lay of the land. It was figuring it out, really, wasn't it? Because it was manic, but amazing.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, because not only... So we got there and they were doing... it's just, as you say, manic. So not only was the vendor village just incredible, but they had a workout area where they...
Spectator workouts.
Yeah, where you could... join in with some of the Rogue legends, so Matt Fraser, Dan Bailey and Rich Froning were doing one when we were there.
Yeah.
And it was just heaving around there, because of course everyone wants, and they were actually joining in the workout. It wasn't like they were just telling people to do.
So that spectator one was actually led by those, and you paid to join it. It was led. So I was trying to figure out the vendor village. It was the only thing that I tried to figure out. We sort of split our research. So the spectator bit you paid to go into, or you booked into if it was a free one, if it wasn't run by a legend. But that one that you photographed was with Dan Bailey and Rich Froning. They put that workout together and they ran it. So they joined in, but it was done by them.
Yeah.
And then in the other corner, they had speeches, so you could go and listen to a talk by the legends, and that was right next to where you could try lifting the stones, and you could try the big grip, or you lifting the Thor hammers.
Yeah.
So it was in there was loud and busy, and then in the arena was the strongmen predominantly on that first day. It started with strongmen and women, and it was heaving. I didn't expect it to be that busy because it was a Friday, but it was busy.
Yeah.
It was full. And we saw some amazing things. I mean, I said it on the social media, but Inez, who is the 2 times reigning champion now for Rogue Invitational Strongwoman, she did the circus medley, which was the second thing we saw, because we saw originally it was the deadlifts, wasn't it? And they went up to the wagon, the axle wagon deadlift that Thor turned up for, and then buggered off without even actually attempting that last lift.
Yeah, he did knacker his shoulder a couple of weeks beforehand, though.
I know.
So
I'm not. I like
cuff.
Thor, but just I don't know why we had the big. He's going to do a world. He wasn't going to try the world record. He was never even going to try and put it off the floor, because he was. So I appreciate him being there and him doing the deadlifts he could, but I just think that was a bit of a anticlimax for an anticlimax's sake. But anyway, I digress. It started with that, and then it went into the circus medley, which is the single arm dumbbell, clean and press. And I say clean very, very loosely. But they did get the dumbbell from floor to shoulder in one movement, mostly the dumbbells, and the grip on them were like fat grips, weren't they? Yeah. And it was the old circus style dumbbells with the big old spears on the end. And once they'd progressed all the way up to having done those with a clean lockout, we got to the barbell, and the barbell was a fixed fat grip barbell with the big spears on the end, and I've just never seen anything like that in my life in person, in terms of the back bend from Inez. But she was the only athlete that used the split jerk.
Yep, that's
and
true.
She got 7 presses and some of the other athletes didn't even get one.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was a strength thing. I think that was that's where I would bring this back to weightlifting and say there's a skill in shifting that, like there's a finesse to moving that kind of weight, because none of them had the inability to hold that weight above their heads. It was locking it out.
Yeah.
And actually they didn't have the power from the push press, whereas she didn't split jerk well from IR standards, but she did split jerk.
Yep.
None of the men did, I don't think.
Mitch,
He
because
normally
Mitch
does, he?
normally, but
he
didn't.
didn't. He push pressed.
Yeah.
So she was the only one that I saw, and it made me really happy. Yeah, it made me really happy. Mainly because she did it after bending her spine in a way that I didn't realise a woman could bend their spine.
I've got a picture of it, and there's
90-degree angle.
When I was editing it, there's a woman in the crowd in the background, and she's got her hand over her mouth, and like eyes wide open. Going, you can imagine what she's saying to her boyfriend next to her. It's like,
On the video I've got of it, I've got music over it on the Instagram, but you can hear me go in the background going, "Oh my god!" She's rolling it up her body, but good for her for being. Yeah, just for being that strong.
Certainly makes you appreciate how strong their backs are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I said I would mention it, and I'll just mention it now so I don't forget. But obviously I just said that she was the 2 times winner now for Rogue. And in her victory speech at the end, so they finished on the Saturday. But they all stayed around, didn't they? And they watched the CrossFitters and they stayed for the whole event. Her main point... her main thing of thanks was to say that Rogue was the only competition that paid the female strongwomen the same prize money as the males, and winning it last year meant that she was free to be a full-time strongwoman, that she could train, and that she could afford to bring her son over, who was in the crowd watching her, and that money had changed her life essentially, and that it was, she really wanted to emphasise the fact that Rogue were championing that equality amongst the men and the women, and it was the same for the CrossFit in terms of the prize money, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, I thought that was just worth echoing her sentiments. I gave a big cheer for that. Probably one of the few things I did give a big cheer for, but I did cheer for that because it's not often you hear that in sport for women.
Yeah, and there's certainly, I love the way that they brought the 2 sports together. And then obviously the sexes as well. But the only thing for me would be for next year, and we both think the same, and that's the adaptive athletes as well.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot to cram in, but
I don't know where you'd fit it in.
Yeah.
But
I think it still would be amazing to get everyone under the same roof. We're celebrating, such amazing athletes.
But then I'd want to, I talk about her all the time, but I'd want to see that 83-year-old woman who does the pull-ups with the 10 kilos. So it does end up spiralling, but that doesn't mean that anybody should be excluded because of, if it just means more thinking. And maybe that's where Rogue's going. It's seems to be a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of change and the way they work things. It was the smoothest event I've ever been to.
Yep.
Everything ran on time. There was a slight delay on the last day, I think, where things overran. But to be fair to that, the last day had the most amount of events that weren't pre-released, so people weren't prepared for them. They were hidden, weren't they? So you had that run through the vendor village and stuff. So yeah, I mean, for me on that first day, it was just a very learning experience for me, was how other media people interact with one another. So I sat down and talked with Sarah from the US, LuxiaoJun, with the guy from USN, with the guy from Frog. There was another guy, I didn't ask who he was shooting for, he might have been independent. And there was a guy we were both speaking to who was an independent CrossFitter, and then you're going to talk about the diver shark.
Yeah, so there's Daniel we met as well, who was sitting close to us, and then and then a guy that it was ironically it was we got chatting up on the balcony, and it makes it sound like Romeo and Juliet.
Does a little bit like it, especially because you said we got chatting, not like you were chatting him up, were you? I wasn't there for that bit.
But he so his name was Steve. I can't remember his surname, but he started telling me his story, and it was just sounded really similar to what we were doing, but from a CrossFit side. So he started a podcast, got into some photography. He was also a diver, and then started doing some diving photography, and it just got to the point where it was like, I need to make this a business because this is crazy. Then he showed us some pictures of his shark photography.
I turned up just as you were talking about the sharks, because I love hammerhead sharks, and he had loads of pictures of hammerheads.
And it was incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Very jealous.
And then he said he would take us.
Yeah.
And now we can't remember his last name.
I'm going to stalk him, don't worry.
But yeah, the whole point of that
Sorry.
was basically to say, the Friday, what I learnt was of that sort of networking, that a lot of these events for the media, it was more about the networking, and it was about people chatting with one another and supporting each other. There was no fighting for the better spots. There was, people were swapping spaces if people were following specific athletes, they were purposefully holding spots so that the right media person could sit. I thought it was amazing. There was a real camaraderie amongst the media, even though we were all outside media representing different brands, to support one another to get what we needed when we were there. So I really liked that.
Yeah, it was something just we're not used to.
Yeah.
And not in that, we don't see it anywhere else, but it's because we're relatively new into all of this.
Yeah, and
so
weightlifting doesn't have a huge amount. I can think of 3 of us in terms of photographers specifically that would go to weightlifting
independent
competitions. And we do all support one another, but it's not the same as having 40, 50 outlets. You get at the Rogues as a media, you'll have seen, if you follow the Instagram, I posted a photo of the Rogue media room. So that's where you could do your editing on site if you wanted to do your editing on site. It was, they really did cater. That we had a WhatsApp chat where we got our updates every day. If we wanted to talk to an athlete, we just text into the group, and somebody from Rogue would go and speak to the athlete. If the athlete was willing to come and do an interview, they'd come to a designated area to do an interview. It was run so smoothly. Everything you could think you might want, they already had an answer for, and it was done.
Yeah.
One of the people I got talking to was one of the volunteers, and he was from 30 minutes, was it 200 kilometres away from wherever Colten lives? All these things mean nothing to me because America's too big. It's just too much for me.
Ohio?
Is he from Ohio? I don't know.
Hillsborough,
I made the joke that my country could fit in his country lots of times, and the volunteer joked back that my country could fit in his state at least twice. So, because I was talking about the fact we'd driven 11 hours, and he was sort of like, and I was like, should have flown.
11 hours and we were dead.
Yeah. He was saying that all of the volunteers there pay their own way. So they pay their own flights, they pay their own accommodation, and I think that's another real testament to Rogue.
Yeah.
That they get people that do that.
Yeah, it shows you how prestigious the event was, or is, really.
Yeah. So we did a lot of following Colten that day.
Yep.
And he did really well. I mean, he was 5th by the end of that first day, wasn't he?
Yeah, there were quite a few things that... was that the deadlifts? Or was that day 2? It's such a blur for me sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's hard, isn't it? Because it did... That weekend did all blur. But the first day really played into his strengths. There was one particular event, deadlifts. It wasn't the deadlift day. Deadlift was the last day. It might have been squats, the squat day, and anyway, whatever day it was, he smashed one out. That god awful reverse abs sit up on the GHD.
Oh, the GHD,
and there was the one with the yoke. It was a yoke carry, and it was a deadlift, but it was up the stairs.
Oh, that yes.
And he finished that well ahead of everybody else, didn't he? I mean, he was sort of stood there looking around thinking, so he had a really good day that day, and we got some really great photos. if you're from the UK and you're looking and thinking, well, where's the LuxiaoJun? The shoes that he's wearing, the bright orange shoes, are a limited edition X-Load. So we've just received the X-Loads in the UK, and they are the black and white at the minute, alongside the XT Motions, which are specifically designed for CrossFit. And Colten happens to wear the X-Loads, and they're the bright orange ones, which are a limited well, I say limited edition colour. I don't know if they're limited edition, but they are a different colourway of the shoes that we have in the UK. So
it was they're limited to not to the UK.
Yeah,
limited to everywhere else.
They're limited to the US currently. I don't know if there's any plans for them to be anywhere else. That would be a question for Shemek. But if you wondered why we focused on his feet so much, that's why. But yeah, so that was day one, and then day two. No. It's all a bit of a blur. I don't know that we necessarily need to go through it day by day, but it was just, it was, yeah. I think
so. Yeah, so day two we were a bit more, I guess, at home with the place. We obviously got back and realised how over excited I might have been with the trigger finger on the camera.
5,000 photos.
It wasn't 5,000.
It was 4,800 and something photos.
Exactly, it wasn't 5,000.
Okay.
And I think that was just because I stayed for every single session and I took pictures of everyone.
I'm glad we did though.
Yeah.
Because obviously I didn't know there were strong men lifting in Lou lifters.
Yeah.
You know, I watch the strong men. I've never looked and seen what they're wearing, and they are in the Lou lifters. So actually,
it worked.
What was excessive, we weren't asked to do that. We did it because we wanted to. Did actually work out quite well.
Yeah. And then, so sort of the next couple of days we sort of, I guess, honed in on what we were trying to get. A few more videos. Helping Shemek on the stall. You did quite a lot of that.
I did quite a lot of shopping too.
And shopping.
Yeah. Well, I say quite a lot of shopping. I didn't, not as much as I would have liked to have done, I've got to be honest.
Day two was the long day, because day two was the end of the strongman competition.
Day two went on till like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and that's when I spilt. We obviously got given some. I don't want to call it a uniform, but I got some free gear, free stash. So I got some nice white X-Loads, which are cool. Enjoyed those, and then right up until the point that I spilt a whole giant 15-litre carton of Diet Coke all over them.
Oh, God. The day went on and on, and we had no food.
So annoyed with myself.
I think we took lunch, but we hadn't thought ahead because we were tired and idiots. And we technically, Shemek and Lee left when the vendor village finished at 6. The CrossFit finished at that time, so that really is when we should have left. But we chose to stay for the strongmen. A, because they were wearing the loos, and B, because we love the strong men and women. And I say strong men because the strong women, I hear them referring to it as strong men, so I'm not excluding the women there. But it got to about 9 o'clock, and Aaron gets this look on his face when he's hungry or he needs a wee, and it's the case of don't talk to me. And so I made an excuse to go out and went to the food area, and it's the one thing I'll criticise P&J, not Rogue, because I don't think they had any say on it, but the food in there, for a fitness event, there was no vegetarian options. Everything was fried. It was pretty dire. So I went up to the vendor and said, have you got anything vegetarian? And they said they had a burrito bowl, which sounded quite nice. And I won't say it was horrible because we were starving, but it was just some rocket
nachos
and some guac.
There was a bit of guacamole,
yeah. And all they had left, because it was knocking on to the end of the day and they were closing down, was the on tap Diet Coke, and it was literally 1.5 litres, I think, in an American sized 12-gallon 14 million ton cardboard cup, which Aaron dropped all over the gear and his feet and the people in front of us.
Yeah.
Who I don't think dared say anything because of the look on Aaron's face, because of how mad he was at himself.
I ruined their bag and what was in it, but I was so annoyed.
They
with
finally
myself.
moved when we moved, and I think they just didn't dare move before.
So apologies to you two, whoever you may be, but
And thank you to the nice lady behind who pointed out that it was all over your bag, because you were asking them if they were all right, and she was busy tapping you to say that your sling bag with the camera in it was
getting soaked as well.
was getting soaked. So it was a long day, but it was worth it. It was worth it for that. What I loved about the strong men when they did the belts was the way they all came out and sat on that bench. I don't know how that bench held them. Yeah. 2 benches that held 10, 20, so 20 people total. I dread to think how much weight was on them, but it held them well. Yeah. But they were all just having a laugh.
Yeah.
They all just were loving their lives, and it was like a group of mates.
Yeah.
And none of them, you could just see it. None of them resented. They all supported each other wherever they'd placed. It's
the sort of sport that I think, they really do push their bodies to the extremes.
Yeah.
Some are fortunate and they have glistering careers. Others aren't so fortunate and have some really bad injuries. The likes of Adam Bishop, who's suffered quite, recently. There's another guy.
But even Mitch Hooper,
he
was having stem cell treatment 12 weeks before the Rogues.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he said it in his victory speech. He was saying, he literally came out of hospital 12 weeks before.
Wow.
So,
which is probably why on day 3, when he was wandering around the village, he was wandering.
Well, yeah. He looked knackered. I thought he'd look knackered all the way through that comp. I'm surprised he won it. Fair play to him for winning it, because he looked tired. But there were things I thought would happen didn't happen how I thought they would. So, say for example, Tom Stoltman, with the cannonballs, he didn't move as quickly as, I always think about him as like King of the Stones. He didn't have that as much as I thought he would, and I don't know if that's... So with the cannonballs, they weren't allowed to use tack, and they were made of stainless steel, and so it's a very different experience to an Atlas stone. I don't know if that factored into it, but there were certain things that people did that I thought they would do better on. So like Lucy Underdown, I thought she would do better on the steps. Yeah. Because she's the deadlift world record holder.
And she struggled a bit.
And then she struggled on the steps. But they were all so humble and with such humility that it was never there was no like throwing a paddy or, it was just really lovely to watch. And then I think for me, the follow on from that is then on the Sunday when we were in the Hilton, because we were hanging out to interview Colten, which will come out shortly, they were all still there. And they were all still just chilling together. I mean, we walked up to Olga, who we've got a little interview out with on the To The Bar Instagram, because she lifts in the purple Lou lifters. Because she came second, and we were fanboying a bit, weren't we? Like, I honestly think she might have won if she hadn't have dropped that second cannonball. The second to last cannonball, I think she might have had it. But there was no resentment whatsoever that she didn't. She was sat with Inez and Mitch Hooper, and we walked over and just started chatting to her. She talked to us about the shoes without us even asking. Talked to us about all sorts of stuff, didn't she? About her travel, about life in Ukraine, about...
So she's, being in the States, well, obviously, being in the Ukraine is very, very dangerous for us. So she's been training and living in the States, and how, the visa issues, and then
her mum still being in Ukraine, and such an open person. And all we'd done is gone over and said, "Can we just say hello?" And they were all more than happy. Yeah. Whoever we'd have stopped from that group, they'd have chatted to. I mean, I saw a baby. The same baby passed around to every strong person and the CrossFitters. Yeah. That baby has been held by every person, but they weren't annoyed by it. They were just yeah, just happy to be there. Again, just eating, just chilling. And then one of my favourite things about the whole experience is coming home and seeing that they stayed in Scotland for 3 or 4 days after, and that the strong women hiked and went and explored and did stupid TikTok videos together. I mean, the one of Inez, Olga, and I think it's Jardine, who came bronze, and they're sat eating, and it's that talk over where it's like it says something like, when you're trying to avoid paying the bill but you've just won the Rogue Invitationals, and Olga and Jardine pass the bill over to Inez, and Inez goes, but I'm just a baby, and pushes it back, and it's like a voiceover. But the joke obviously is that she's trying to get out of paying the bill having just won 100 grand. They were doing that joke the day after, so there was obviously no hard feelings. And then they're gallivanting all over. They went off and tried to do the Dinny Stones.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
I love that they stayed together. They explored together. They came as friends, competed against each other as friends, placed as mates. It reminds me a bit of the good bit of the Masters. Like, yeah, I really, it was... Not that I didn't enjoy being there, but seeing all of that afterwards, I really loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you certainly saw that in the CrossFit bunch as well. You know, the likes of, you know, some of the older guys. God, I can't remember his name now.
I don't follow the
I was going to say
VC.
Fikowski, but he wasn't. I might have to stop and have a look at that.
I don't follow them so much, so I don't see. I did see one guy. Actually, I did see a guy go and do the stone, the Viking stone, that you do around the sheep's pen.
Oh yeah.
Him, and his name is, it's FC, because his code for Vivo for a discount was FC25. His first name begins with an F and his second name begins with a C. But he was there and he stayed and went and did that.
Yeah.
And then ticked it off as a lifetime achievement. I'd seen.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool, actually, because it's sort of like Y-shaped, but it was more the history of it that he'd written, and that it was... he called it a Viking stone, but the idea was that once you'd carried it once around this pig pen, you had achieved a certain status. And
isn't it sort of the passing into adulthood, isn't it?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
But it was the fact that they embraced the culture and went off and obviously had all these plans to try these things. I thought was amazing.
Well, and as well as that, came out in some of the football shirts as well. So Harry Lightfoot, I think he was wearing the Celtic shirt. Daniel Brennan was wearing a Scotland shirt.
I know they were wearing Scottish shirts. I know Harry Lightfoot was wearing one when he ran around like a footballer, and he did the lap of the stadium and high-fived everybody in the VIP areas. And obviously Danielle Brandon, she wore it for the event that she won, which was great. So that worked really well. I think she wore it for the event that she won. I seem to remember her twatting the buzzer and being in that long sleeve shirt. And her being anyway, that doesn't really matter. It was nice that they were thoughtful in that way. But yeah, in general, I think it was just a really well run event.
Pat Vellner, who I was thinking of.
Who, sorry?
Pat Vellner.
Okay. Yeah, no idea. I follow the strong men and women. I don't really follow the CrossFitters. Obviously, that might have to change if To The Bar is going to diversify, because I actually really quite liked taking the photographs of the CrossFit. It's impressive. Yeah.
You know, incredible what they do, really, to be...
The shot I got of the back of Colten doing that deadlift is insane. It would rival any weightlifter's back. And the weight was insane as well.
Yeah.
And I certainly couldn't do 90%, 95% of what they do. Yeah. Even on a scaled version, I couldn't do it. So, yeah. I was jealous of the rope climbs.
Yeah, I was really fortunate in the position, so I managed to get into a good... as soon as I saw it was rope climbs, so it was a run around the arena, through the vendor village, rope climb, and then lunge, sandbag lunge.
I would like to have done the rope climb.
But yeah, so I positioned myself just behind, and so I
Yeah.
could see them going
I
doing
wouldn't
the.
have wanted to do the run, and I wouldn't have wanted to do the lunges, but I would have liked to have done it.
Yeah.
So it's like I want to be able to like cherry pick the bits of
The
strongman,
non-aerobic stuff.
yeah, bits of strongman, bits of CrossFit and weightlifting, and like just make my own version. Pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, really enjoyed it. Hopefully it was useful for Shemeka. There was a lot of Americans that spoke to us and sort of said, you know, Lou it's a new brand for the US, and it was nice to speak to people, and
Yeah, give the history of the brand, you know.
yeah, because people don't know quite rightly. I don't know much about CrossFit. You know, you're talking about CrossFit Legends. It's just going to go over my head. People don't know LuxiaoJun. They don't know the history. And I think for me, it's nice. We always said we didn't want to be sponsored by a brand that we didn't like or that we didn't support, that we wouldn't use. And we were both Anta wearers, and I would never slate Anta because I love my Antas, but I don't wear the Lus because we're sponsored by Lus. I wear the Lus because they've got a wider toe box, and I much prefer them. I say much prefer them. Much is a big. I prefer them. I enjoy them. And what I did like was when people were asking questions, being able to answer them honestly.
As someone that wears them.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than just a salesperson.
Yeah, and the limitations in the sense of sizing. So saying to when people were talking about, I'm not sure, me saying, right, it's a big investment to buy your shoe, so try the next size up, because actually I needed the next size up, or the 0.5 up.
Size 12.
And it fuck you. He's not far off actually though. I don't know why I'm saying that. And I said the same thing to Olga. I do have big feet. Yeah, it was nice to be able to say it, because I've said it before again with their training t-shirts. These t-shirts are lovely for the day. I wouldn't train in it. Their training t-shirt, the Wiccan
they're
one,
quite cool, actually.
I really appreciate, because when it does get ridiculously hot, it does actually pull the sweat from my skin. Some Wiccan t-shirts, they say they're Wiccan and they're not. Other bits of Lus I haven't tried, so I couldn't personally comment on, like straps and stuff I don't use, but it was nice to be able to talk about things that I use personally and actually endorse it. When I was involved in that little bit, especially to people that didn't know the brand, so I enjoyed that as well.
Highlights and lowlights.
Highlights, I think that I had a lot of highlights. I enjoyed talking to Olga, because she was lovely. She was so lovely, and really down to earth, and yeah, just a really genuine person. So I think the fact that she gave us that time whilst waiting, quite clearly starving for food, I think that was quite a privilege. Same with Colten, getting to interview him, and you know, again, I understand that he's a big deal in CrossFit, and I'm not quite as au fait with CrossFit to understand how big of a deal he is, but I did know from the way people reacted to him that he was a big deal. So how nice and down to earth him and Ali were, because his fiance was there with him when we met them and interviewed them. That would be a highlight for me. If I was going to start picking out like the sporting highlights, it would be the strongman things, and I would go on forever, so I won't. But my other one would be developing that relationship with Sarah in the US.
Yep.
Even though we're going to do different media, and it's the same brand, but they're different strands. It's more her as a person, and how supportive she was of us, and you in return. I mean, you helped her with Roman, and getting, you did the same for her in terms of if there was a better spot for Roman, swapping and making sure that she got what she needed for other athletes. I think developing that for me was a real highlight in terms of a media company and it being a business.
Yeah.
overall, I would say seeing all of that and still seeing spaces where weightlifting made it easier or better.
Yeah, certainly.
The technique.
Yeah, it's being efficient with the weight, isn't it?
Yeah, when they did
moving your
the
body
log
around the bar.
clean,
Yeah,
and I was looking at it and thinking, the snatch. Colten was the only one that snatched that overhead. They had to do 12 overhead squats and then do 6 burpee over bar and then whatever. There were a lot of snatches. A lot of overhead squats. Yeah, he is made for weightlifting. The bar wasn't close, so his technique wasn't great. But his snatch he was under it before I blinked.
Yeah.
And I watched it and I thought, if he kept the bar closer, how strong he is and how quickly he gets under that, he could snatch a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
So for me, highlights like watching the strong men and the CrossFitters and seeing how weightlifting would complement it, but then the reverse, and seeing how being a stronger person and a fitter person will make you better at weightlifting.
Yep.
What about you?
So highlights, I think definitely the experience. Going into such an event as media was quite an eye-opening experience at that level, and realizing that, I think we had a chat afterwards about how we could, what would I do differently or in the next place, and that would be to do that networking, to be more involved with the people around, the other photographers, and then I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because I loved taking the photos, and I loved being able to edit them and having everything, but it's a lot of work. So I think being a bit more sort of precise in what I'm there for.
Honing.
Yeah. So that part of it, the media side of it, I think it was a real highlight. From the sporting side, I think Roman. I got some great shots of him. So there was
Comeback from Roman was insane.
And to see,
and he's jacked.
He's fucking hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you talk about backs. I mean that bloke is.
And they were drug tested. Just to throw that out there, the CrossFitters were drug tested.
Yeah. So we waited to see Colten and have a chat with him, and he was delayed because he was being tested. But yeah, so seeing Roman, there was one of the sessions was a heats thing going into, and Roman got into the final. I can't remember where he came, but it was jumping over some logs.
Oh yeah, that was one where
the rope.
Yeah, where Colten was out immediately.
Yeah. And then I can't remember whatever it was that finished it.
I liked that one again. I liked that
Sandbag
one.
onto the plinth.
Because it's not typical.
Yeah.
But it's not a typical strongman either, is it? Like over a log, under a log, over a log, under a log, into it. Like, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. But seeing him, he won one of the heats, and he absolutely roared as he hit that buzzer, as he came through. And I think that was his moment of, baby, this is it. I'm here again. Yeah. And so that was his. Yeah, that was great to watch. And then watching Colten rip out those deadlifts and just smash them.
Oh, he had
deadlifts. The back squats.
He had some. But I can't remember then what day that was, but the day that he really fucked up. So day 2. And I say he fucked up as if it was a choice. It wasn't. The workouts just didn't work for him. So he dropped from 5th to 12th. It was a hard day. The next day, when he came back and fought, he fought. And so for me, his handstand push-ups, that ski erg handstand push-ups, and then the deadlifts, that for me, when he hit that button and he waited for a minute and a half, and I've got photos of him just stood waiting, and his face is deadpan because he still knows he's not done enough, and he knows he's got to keep pushing.
He's there thinking.
Focused.
He's like, what do I do?
Right. I've got a minute and a half off. it's not enough.
Yeah.
What am I doing in my next one? And that mindset, even overnight, he shared something on Instagram that was like, let's fucking go. I'm going to bring this back. And yeah, so I think that was a real interesting jump, because obviously from 5th on day one, I was thinking he could place to drop to 12th. Actually, what was more impressive to me than him placing was that mindset shift on those last events, where he went full send. I'm going to give this everything.
Yeah, because one of my, I say lowlights, one of the things that that struck a chord, or it was quite meaningful, was when on the pegboards. So they were doing the horizontal pegboard, and he'd never done them before, and he struggled big time.
Yeah.
And there was a moment where you could see it in his face, and he was just like,
I've got the shot. I haven't shared it because I was in a perfect position.
Yeah, same here. But then there's a flip of it where he turns around to his judge, and
we've took the same photos.
And they both have a little look at each other, and he smiles and has a little chuckle to himself, and she smiles and chuckles back, and it's this. Yeah, do you know what? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and here I am. I've just got to plough through this. And
he did though, didn't he? Yeah. Because he did that. Yeah, he did take 30 seconds to stand there, and he put his hands on his hips, and it was like, I've screwed this up.
Yeah.
And then he looked at the judge, and the judge looked at him, and he has that little smile, and clearly is not angry at anyone. He's not even himself.
Wasn't throwing his toys out of pram or anything. It was brilliant.
I can't do this. And what annoyed me was, he smashed first. He did it. He did do it. That first set, he smashed, and he got back first. And obviously I say inexperience, but the fact that he hadn't done them then made the second round much harder. Because he's so used to doing the log muscle ups. I would have thought the pegboard would have been easier, but as we rightly discussed later, it's different muscle groups, isn't it? A highlight for me again, then, if you wanted to keep going on that line, would be the fact that, watching his story, he literally landed home and built a transverse pegboard. And now every time he feeds his pigs, he does a transverse pegboard.
He's not going to be caught out on that again.
That is an athlete mindset. That is it's not I can't do it, I'm never doing it again. Or, that was hard, I don't want to do it. It was that was hard, I'm going to do it till it's not hard.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that I think I could learn, or that I did learn and take away from that weekend, in terms of how people react or how people respond to things. I mean, again, was it Mitch Hooper broke his toe on the deadlifts and carried on? The shoe broke. The shoe didn't break, but he broke his toe. And I think it's TYR that he wears, and they're using that as an advert now, and they're sort of saying, like, our shoes are so strong. And other people are sort of saying, like, shouldn't the shoe have protected the toe? But anyway... not that I'm saying that if you break your foot, you should carry on deadlifting. No. But I suppose what I am saying is, it depends where you are and what you're doing. And at his level, for him to come back and just be like, right, this is what I need to work on, it's why he's at that level, isn't it? Yeah. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think my last sort of highlight really was seeing Lucy Campbell.
Yes.
Because and that was again for the rope climbs, because she absolutely smashed that.
Oh, those photos you had of her were amazing.
So
yeah,
and didn't you saw her as well in the village?
She was in the vendor village. Yeah, she came for a wander around the vendor village. I saw her very briefly as she passed by. But yeah, she's a UK athlete, and so I think she could come in, not to put her down, but she could come into the vendor village, and it was a little bit she was less swamped, because a lot of people there were American, weren't they? There was a lot of Americans, and the American CrossFitters were getting a lot of attention. That's not to say Lucy didn't, because there was at one point she was with a friend, and I went over to the friend and said, do you need help getting out? Because people wanted their autograph with her, rightly so, because she came third. But yeah, so she seemed lovely. She seemed really down to earth, really just, again, like we were saying, just that camaraderie, humble, just a nice person. She did stop, she did sign things for people. when I offered to try and help her get back out because their next heat was due to start.
Yeah, mid session or in between sessions.
In between sessions. Her friend was like, no, she doesn't mind. And her friend was grateful that I'd offered, but was just, I think it was her friend coach, whatever. Grateful that I'd offered, but was just like, yeah, she's all right. Cool. Which is a nice way for people to be.
Yep.
So yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. I'd encourage everybody to look out for Giants Live and Strong Man, Strong Woman coming up. It's coming into Christmas. Get it on. If you're a weightlifter,
staple, isn't it? Really?
If you're a weightlifter, get it on and prepare yourself for your lower back to hurt on behalf of, but also to be amazed because we couldn't do it. And that's a reality when we talk about the press out, is if you can't get into that position, you can't. That's why we don't press out. They can. They train like that. We don't. But yeah, keep your eye out for that because that's coming. And we'll slowly drip feed some more content from the Rogues over time because, yeah, we got quite a few nice photos from there. Yeah.
So what's next up for us? I've mentioned it already, haven't I?
Oh, the English.
Yeah.
The English will be the next podcast. We're not doing any photography, but we will do a podcast. So we'll do the podcast review. Probably go back to doing the podcast review from the TO perspective.
Yeah,
which
so it's
I'm really
back to our
looking
roots,
forward
really,
to.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're TOing.
Really looking forward to that. And then hopefully after that, we are going to be having... Well, Colten has agreed to come on the podcast. That is going to be... I'm not guaranteeing a date for that because that is going to be coordinated via Zoom. And we aren't really we've never been a online podcast.
Yeah.
So that might take some time to organise. And also, time difference. I don't want to be doing this at 3 a.m. because I look like shit when we do this at the best time of day. So...
Oh, we're looking for a sponsor. Unless someone wants to fly us out to America.
Yeah. Paper Street Coffee followed me the other day. You're American.
I don't even drink coffee, but I will do if you fly us out.
If you fly us out, then we'll do it on his farm. I'll see his little weenies. Yeah, no problem. But yeah, so Colten is somewhere along the line, and then next guest I'm hoping is going to be Christian. Yeah, Christian McPhee, who previously was part of the coaching and performance pathways for BWL and is the head coach and owner of London Strength and Brunel Weightlifting Club. So
it'd be great to have him on.
Yeah, really good to have him on.
Very insightful.
He's just an amazing coach. Like, I love watching him coach. I love watching the way he... And I don't know that he knows that we do this. I mean, I have mentioned it to him when we talk, but whenever I am TOing and he's around, I'm watching the way he teaches or the way he interacts with his athletes. Whenever we're at Brunel and there's things going on and he's with an athlete, I'm watching him because the way he is very individual. I think he's a very different coach to other people. I can't quite pinpoint why, but I just know that when I'm watching him, I feel like I am watching something special.
Yeah, clever coach.
Yeah. So yeah, he is hopefully going to be the next guest, and we're going to do a little bit of media for him in the meantime. And our next competition after the English would be Europa.
Yeah.
We're going to go over to Andy Callard's.
20th of December.
Yep. Andy Callard and John Vine, they are running a comp at Europa, which is over near Dartford. So
that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that as well. I really enjoyed the last one we did there.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone's around, if anyone fancies coming to that, I don't know if it's open on Sport 80 or not, but even if you just fancy coming and cheering along in the crowd, it's a nice gym. Yeah, come on down.
That's it. That's a wrap.
I reckon so. I mean, we could ramble for hours, but nobody wants to listen to it. So yeah. Done. We can retire.
Thank you very much, and see you soon.
See you next time.
See you.
Bye. Done.
You've been listening to the Bar, strength in every story. Thanks so much for listening. We're so happy to have you as a member of our community. We have a passion for weightlifting, but we also have an insatiable curiosity about everyone's story. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram at _2_the_bar. And be sure to hit the website at 2-thebar.com. See you next time on To The Bar. And remember, there's strength in every story.